Welcome back, fight fans, to another episode of The Coach and the Kid. I am the Kid. I am once again joined by my co-host, the Coach. And Coach, we are back after a long hiatus to break down the last pay-per-view in UFC history. UFC 323, Merab DVALISHVILI takes on Petr Yan for the Bantamweight Championship of the world. And the co-main is a very interesting matchup as well, Coach. Joshua Van versus Alexandre Pantoja at 125 pounds. But we'll get into breaking all that down. Coach, it's good to see you. How you feeling?
I feel great. Those of you who have really good computers and are watching us and have missed us, if you look close at the kid, you can see he's got a little cut under his eye because I beat his ass recently. And I was just getting ready for the senior fight card that's going to take place at the White House. I'm excited about that, but that's a long way off, and frankly, I'll be shocked if it happens. But it's good to see you too, kid, and I'm glad that you healed up okay from your beatdown.
Coach, let's get right into it as we transition into the Paramount era of the UFC. We ended off with the last pay-per-view on ESPN Plus. And Coach, before we get into this main card predictions, I want to lead off with some prelims because there are a ton of great matchups. As you can see, littered with ranked fighters. Marvin Vettori takes on Bruno Ferreira. At the top of the card, we have Grant Dawson taking on Manuel Torres. But I wanted to highlight two matchups here, Coach, before we get into it. Edson Barbosa takes on Jalen Turner after a year-and-a-half hiatus. He retired from the sport. Thought he was going to become a pro skateboarder, but he's coming back to face one of the most electric lightweights in UFC history in Edson Barbosa. And the second matchup I wanted to highlight, Coach, is my fight of the night pick, Nazim Sadikov versus Fares Ziam. Two huge lightweights. I think the winner of that gets into the lightweight rankings. I'm loving where lightweight's at right now. The state of the UFC as far as young fighters go is incredible. Coach, did you have any highlights on the prelims you wanted to talk about here?
No, but I can tell you that if you're a skateboarder, it's more dangerous than the UFC, and I know for a fact. But the thing that I like all these fights, I think it's going to be a fun night, and I think that I think this is a parting gift from Dana going into the Paramount era is just to have a great card, and I'm hoping that it keeps on into 2026 because it was kind of a roller coaster this last year, but there was some fun things. And it seemed like over the last year, the prelims were more interesting than a lot of the main events, if you recall. But we won't even go into that. I'm glad you mentioned those two fights. I'm excited about that too. Looking forward to seeing Marvin Vettori fight again. Always a pleasure to watch him. But yeah, let's get into it.
I agree, Coach. The last two belts of the year are on the line at UFC 323. But prior to that, we open up the main card. Speaking of belts, Coach, the former 205-pound light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz takes on the up-and-comer in the 205 division, Bogdan Guskov. Coach, I know I usually lead these off. We've been off for a little bit. I want to go to you first here. Where are you going with? Are you going with Jan Blachowicz, or are you going with your younger brother, Bogdan Guskov here?
My younger brother. Yeah, no, I don't think he's fought anybody of any merit. He's shown some good things, but I like Blachowicz, and I think he's gonna beat him. I think he's gonna kick his ass because I think this will be the first real test. And frankly, I don't think Guskov is up to it. I don't know. I went against him before. He looks like the guy from the movie Powder, and I just don't dig him. I think I like Jan anyway. He's a nature boy. So yeah, he's my guy, and I think he's gonna knock him out.
Coach, we're in agreement in our first pick in about 3 months here. Like you said, Guskov hasn't fought anybody. We made the mistake of picking the corpse of Nikita Krylov to beat Bogdan Guskov. And of course, you tap that guy's chin, he goes out. Guskov found the chin in the first round and was able to put him out. But other than that, who has he fought? I mean, Billy Elikana had his back for the entirety of the first round. And that guy's a scrub, Coach. He hasn't faced anybody at the level of Jan Blachowicz. I know Jan Blachowicz has 2 fights in the last 2 years, but look at who those 2 fights were against. You have Alex Pereira, who I thought he actually won that fight. It was a close split decision, and he fought a lackluster decision against Carlos Ulberg. Those 2 guys are going to fight for the belt sometime in 2026. So those are the 2 primary contenders and the champion at 205. Those are Jan's last 2 opponents. Let's compare those 2. Carlos and Alex, or Billy Elikana and Nikita Krylov, who's been knocked out more times than anybody at 205. Coach, I think the experience is valuable here. I know Jan is 42 years old, but he's a crafty vet, Coach, and I like that about him. I think he's going to show levels here. I don't think Guskov is anywhere near ready for 205's elite. I think he probably should have taken on Jamal Hill instead of taking on this huge step up in competition. Coach, I'm going to go with Jan Blachowicz, third round TKO here.
I'm with you on that.
Let's go, Coach. Let's move on right up the card. And we were talking about this one even in our pre-breakdown meetings. I think this is the strangest matchup I have seen in UFC history, Coach. I just can't put my finger on it. You have Triple C, the former 2-division world champion, as well as Olympic gold medalist, taking on Peyton Talbot. Coach, Peyton Talbot's a massive favorite in this fight. He's a minus 300 favorite. Cejudo is a big underdog. I just don't know here, Coach. I mean, Cejudo hasn't looked terrible. I know he got dominated by Merab, but he won that first round. He wrestled really well in that first round. And let's face it, who hasn't gotten dominated by Merab at this point? That Song Yadong fight was close. There was a couple eye poke situations that were kind of controversial in that fight. And Peyton Talbot hasn't looked great as of late. I mean, he got dominated by Raoni Barcelos, who I think is not on the caliber of wrestler as Henry Cejudo. And that fight against Felipe Lima, Coach, was very close. Talbot's a huge favorite here. I'm going to go out on a limb, Coach. I don't like the fact that Cejudo is talking about his retirement, but I'm going to go 2 veterans in a row, Coach. I'm going to say Cejudo retires with a W. This dude is one of the most accomplished combat sports athletes in history. I don't think Peyton Talbot can close the gap on this wrestling. I think Cejudo shows him levels here, and I think he goes out with a W. Coach, what are you thinking?
Well, I think this fight is about as weird as Talbot's tattoos. And I got to be honest with you. I liked Talbot when I first saw him. And then the next fight, I go, well, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way about Raul Rosa. Some of these guys, I think they get a little cocky and maybe they become the darlings of the sport for a minute. And they kind of let their guard down, so to speak.
For sure.
And Henry, I don't, if he's talking about retirement, he doesn't want to go out losing to this guy because he's just so up and down. And you're right. I mean, Talbot's good. He's good. I don't think he's ready yet. I think they want him to be ready. I think they want him to be, a superstar because he's different. But I don't know. I think that ship has sailed. And I think Henry really wants to. If he's going to leave, he wants to leave on a W. So I'm going with Cejudo too.
Coach, we're 2 for 2 in matching predictions. You see so many athletes that build up a resume and then kind of fall off. We talk about Tim Lincecum all the time. We're both Giants fans, where he has established such a legacy. Can that back half of his career tarnish that legacy? I think Cejudo's thinking the same thing here. If he loses to Talbot, how much does that negate that legacy that he already built up? I think he's got too much pride here. Talbot's super hittable. You watch that last matchup, like I said, against Felipe Lima. He doesn't move his head off the center line at all. Is he uber athletic? 100%. But he doesn't move his head. His striking is very basic. He kind of reminds me of Malcolm Wellmaker, to be honest. He's kind of a one-trick pony where you see him throw that lead hook, and if that doesn't land, it's like, well, I got a 1-2 and not much else. I think Cejudo's going to use the clinch. He's the smaller guy here. Talbot is the much bigger fighter in this matchup, but Cejudo's got a bag of tricks, and he is training with some of the most elite wrestlers in the world. I think he imposes that game plan and takes a decision here, Coach. We're in agreement, both on Cejudo. Coach, let's move right on to our next matchup of the night. And what I love about this card, Coach, is there's so many interesting matchups in the lighter weight classes. I don't think the lighter weight classes get enough love. This is one of them here. Another former champion, that's 3 fights with former champions in a row. Brandon Moreno, one of the greatest flyweights of all time, takes on the up-and-comer Tatsuro Taira. Coach, I'm once again going to have you lead this off. Where are you going with this one? Are you going to go with the established veteran, or are you going to go with the prospect?
Well, this is tough because every time I see one of these up and coming, I guess he's Japanese or whatever. It always scares me because I see I see this footage of these guys and they just look like world beaters,
Yeah.
and they get in with these established guys and they just get their ass worked.
For sure.
But this Tyra, when he gets somebody's back, man, that's his thing. He'll mess around and dance around and everything. And then all of a sudden, he's hanging on a guy's back, and you're thinking, why doesn't this guy spin around and drop him? But this guy's he's like a cobra, man. He can be very dangerous. But Moreno, again, we've got another guy that's been tested, champ, and I mean he's a stud. I got to go with Moreno. He's too experienced. He's got too much pride. He's got Mexican pride, man, and that goes a long way. And I think he's been a little bit up and down. I don't think Tyra's ready to beat this dude. I just don't.
I think that you have a lot of valid points, Coach, and I was going back and forth on this fight. There are a lot of fights where you're pitting established veterans versus younger guys looking to come up the rankings and trend towards that elite part of the division. Coach, I'm going to go with Tyra here. I love Moreno, and I've loved him for a long time. I just think the tread on the tires has worn. He took a year off of fighting before he fought Urseg earlier this year. I liked how he looked against Urseg, but how well has that win aged? I mean, Urseg almost dropped a decision against Ode Osborne, I don't love that. And I know Moreno has no control over that, but Tyra is trending upwards for me. I think he's had that 5-round experience. He had a really close split decision against Brandon Royval, who I consider to be one of the division's elite. And like you said, Tyra is so good on the back. If he can find that back, he can keep you there for a round. His grappling is elite. His striking has gotten better and better every fight you see. Moreno's the established guy here. I'm going to go out on a limb, Coach, and I'm going to take Tatsuro Tyra. I think he gets it done by decision here. I know Moreno's crafty, got a ton of tricks, trains with some of the most elite fighters in the world. But for some reason, like I said, Coach, I've gone back and forth. It's hard to pick one of these hype trains from the Asian region because they want a star in that region. So they're going to push these guys as far as they can. But I think Tyra is the truth here. I think he's one of these guys that can push towards a belt. I think Moreno is over the hill just a little bit. I don't love it when fighters take a year and a half off because they say their mind has been pushed to the limit. I don't love that, Coach. I don't love that optic. There are two things that I don't love. When fighters say they've lost a love for the sport and when they know they're going to retire after the fight. Those two things take fighters out of the current fight. And for that reason, Coach, I'm going to take Tyra.
It makes you wonder if, when you hear those kind of things, if they go, okay, I might have they kind of doubt themselves and they kind of would like to pick up a check. And also, do they miss fighting or do they just miss being in the octagon and hearing the cheering?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to miss something, but then when you actually get in there, sometimes you just go, wow, it was better before when I was really loving it. It's a hell of a way to test your love for a sport is to go back into the octagon. So it's a tough one, but I think that Moreno, knowing that this guy's going to go for his back, he's going to be ready for it because he's scrappy as hell, man. He's got a lot of tools.
I agree. It's a great fight in the 125-pound weight class, Coach. I think Moreno's going to be willing to initiate those grappling sequences, and I think that could be his downfall. I think he may underestimate how good of a grappler Tyra is. And like I said, every fight I've seen, Tyra has gotten better on the feet. This is a guy I've been tracking for the last 2+ years. I think he trends towards that top 3 and even into a title challenging conversation. Coach, while we're talking about two of the elite at 125, let's talk about the champion and the number 1 contender, Coach. Our co-main event of the evening. The last time the 125-pound belt will be challenged for on pay-per-view. We have Alexandre Pantoja, the champion, going against the number 1 contender, Joshua Van. Coach, Josh Van, one of our favorite fighters, taking on the most established champion in recent memory in the lower weight classes. Coach, I've been going back and forth on this one as well. There's a lot of interesting matchups, and there's not a lot of layups here. But I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to go with Alexandre Pantoja. I'm going to go against our favorite fighter on the channel. Coach, we talked about this. Pantoja's back-taking and grappling ability is so good. He's so big for the weight class, and he seems even heavier than he is when he's on top of you. This guy seems like a lightweight when he's on top of these guys. You saw him fight Kai Kara France, and it was 10-8 round after 10-8 round for as long as it lasted. I think Josh Van has great takedown defense. I think Josh Van has sniper-like precision on the feet. But I think Pantoja, like we joke around about, Joe Rogan says, this guy's a marauder. Pantoja is the definition of a marauder. He's going to come forward. He's going to press the issue. He's never going to be on the back foot. They're going to meet in the middle. I think a grappling situation is going to be initiated. And I think if Pantoja can get Josh Van on the ground, this fight's over. Van doesn't have the level of jiu-jitsu to keep up with Pantoja on the ground. I think it's a round 2 submission, Coach. I hope it lasts longer than that. But for me, Pantoja takes him down and submits him within the first 2 rounds.
I totally 100% agree. I really like Josh Van. I think they're bringing him too fast.
Yep.
He almost lost the fight to get into this fight.
Yeah, Royval was a close one.
And everybody falls in love with a knockout or a striker. This guy's got a lot of potential. But you look at Pantoja's face. That's a guy that's kind of personality wise the opposite of the next fight of Merab. He just looks like he loves being a champion. He's a street fighter, and he's not giving up this belt to some kid. He's not. And let's make no mistake, this guy's a kid. He's very youthful. And didn't you say he's like the same level of belt as you? Is he like a white belt?
He's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, he's not very advanced.
Which means he's gone to a couple of classes.
Yeah. Josh is make no mistake about it. This is not a Kai Asakura situation. Josh Van deserves this title shot. But like you said, I think what won him that fight against Royval, Coach, Royval got caught up in the fact that this was a striker's delight. These guys fall in love with their hands. They want to put on a fight of the night performance. Make no mistake about this, Coach. Pantoja has no ego. He's not going to go into a dick measuring contest with you at the center of the octagon. If he needs to, he's going to take you down and he's going to submit you to keep that belt. This is not a matter of pride. I'm going to keep this on the feet and we're going to test who's a better striker. If Josh Van is getting the better of Pantoja on the feet, make no mistake about it, he is going to shoot for a leg and take him down, Coach. This is not going to be a pride contest here. I think Pantoja gets it done.
Well, that's why he's the champ, okay? Because when you become a champ and you are tested a couple times for your belt, it's like Merab. You want more people to come along because it's not that he gets bored. It's just that he has a lot of pride and he's a technician. And by this time, you've seen it all. Exactly. Josh Van has not seen it all, and he's really young in the sport. I just hope he doesn't do an Urseg, and just kind of like fall off the map because he's very marketable. He's a good kid. He's a nice guy. He's a good family man. His story is great. He bought his mom a house, that whole thing. I don't want to get into like a Dancing with the Stars kind of song, but with that whole thing where they tell the story. But he's a good guy. He really is. And I'd like to see him succeed. I think he's once he gets in there and they start saying for the championship, his nerves are going to kick in, and he might just get too excited and leave himself open and just get taken down. This could be I got a feeling it's going to be a quick match either way. He's either going to knock out Pantoja or Pantoja is going to submit him by the second round. But it's going quick, and I got to go with Pantoja because I think he's a bona fide champ.
I couldn't agree more, Coach. This is going to be a firefight for as long as it lasts. Neither of these guys are going to be on the back foot. You're never going to see these guys kind of be in a feeling out process. It's going to be straight at it, straight to action. And let's not forget, Coach, he is 24 years old, but Joshua Van has had his chin cracked before. This is not an undefeated prospect. Charles Johnson put him out. So will that happen here is yet to be determined. But, Coach, this isn't one of these guys where we've never seen him in trouble. I don't know if that's for better or for worse, but for me, Pantoja is the battle-tested veteran. He's fought everybody in the division. For me, it's Pantoja's fight all day here, Coach.
Yeah, and Van, we were watching that last time Van fought. He's got a good chin.
He does.
He's definitely got a good chin. But, he wasn't fighting Pantoja.
100%. One way or another, we are absolutely huge fans of Josh Van. Hope to have him on the channel one day for an interview. That being said, we think Pantoja gets it done. Coach, let's move on to the last fight of the pay-per-view era in UFC history. And it's a good one here, Coach. Not a lackluster main event. Two of the most exciting guys at 135 pounds. We have Merab, the Machine, DVALISHVILI taking on PETR Yan in the second matchup between these two guys. Coach, I'm going to let you lead this one off here. What are you thinking? Are you taking Merab, the Machine, or are you going with PETR Yan?
Well, first of all, you can see why the UFC wants these young guys to come up. Because when you start seeing, number 2 and number 3 and number 4, it's not that you don't like to see them fight, but you get tired of sequels, man. And you want to see, I want to see it change hands, but it's not changing hands anytime too soon. Because Merab, he is a freaking machine. And like they say, when he's not, after he gets finished with a fight, the next day he's like at the gym working out. He's just, if he loves being the champ. He loves fighting. He loves life. And, you know, I thought he was a dork when I first started watching him. I love this guy. He's so happy. He's not a different guy. He's the same way all the time. And he's just so likable. And he surrounds himself with good people. I mean, you can't help but like his probably his best friend and his neighbor, Aljamain Sterling. That guy's grown on me too. But they're such buddies. They just seem like a couple of kids. You know, they're not kids, but you know, Merab is he's elite. I mean, and if Jan said let's stay on the feet and fight, he'd do it because he doesn't care. He knows that even if he got chinned, he'd fall down, get back up, and then he'd ragdoll this dude. He's such a stud, man. I just love the way he fights, and it's almost like he says, "Well, I got 50 takedowns last time. Let me go for 51." You know, or this guy's got the record for knockouts. Let me see if I can beat that. That's how good he is. So I see. I don't know what I see. I think it might go 2 or 3, but that's all. I think Peter Yan he's great. Don't get me wrong, he's great. But you know, he's not winning this fight.
Yeah, Coach. When I first got into the sport, you know, obviously I was influenced by Conor McGregor, but this guy was one of the most dominant champions at the time. I thought this guy couldn't lose. Watching some of his highlights, I mean, you watch his finish of Uriah Faber, you watch the beatdown he put on Jose Aldo, even up to that illegal knee against Aljamain Sterling. This dude is an absolute technician, master of sport in Sambo, master of sport in Muay Thai. I mean, he was a teacher at Tiger Muay Thai in Thailand. This dude has some of the most elite striking in UFC history. You watch the combos he put together. I mean, just watch that fight against Song Yadong. He was coming in on a torn MCL, and this dude put the work on Song Yadong. That last performance against Marcus McGee was a close one, but he did put a beating on him as well. Coach, with that being said, Merab DVALISHVILI is going to win this fight. I mean, how can you pick against the machine? This dude just beat Umar Nurmagomedov, submitted Sean O'Malley, beat Sean O'Malley by decision. You just can't pick against this guy right now, Coach. The run he's on, the run of dominance is incredible. The thing is, the way to beat Merab, Coach, you have to put him out. And Jan is not really a one-punch knockout guy. He's kind of, if he's going to finish you, it's going to be an accumulation of damage. It's going to be punches, elbows, knees in the clinch. That's how he's going to beat you. He doesn't finish a ton of dudes with one-shot knockouts. And the one I can think of is that one over Uriah Faber, who was 40 years old, coming off of a fluke win against Ricky Simon in Sacramento. For me, Coach, you have to knock Merab out to win. And we talk about all the time, the most important aspect of an athlete is cardio. And that cardio allows for you to recover when you're hurt. So even if Petr Yan does hurt Merab, this dude's cardio is so freakish, it's almost like he's right back in the fight. Like you said, if he gets knocked down, he's going to get back up. He's right back on his bike. Petr Yan is going to have to put it on him early if he's going to win. And don't forget, Coach, we've already seen this fight. Petr Yan versus Merab DVALISHVILI won. Petr Yan was a huge favorite. I remember this fight. I was working at the gym. He was a minus 280 favorite in that fight. Everybody was thinking, okay, you know what? Petr just dropped a split decision that he won against Sean O'Malley, and then 2 very controversial fights against Aljamain Sterling. So we're thinking, okay, Merab is going to come in there and be a sacrificial lamb for Petr Yan to get back into the title picture. Well, 45 takedown attempts later, Merab DVALISHVILI wins a 50-45 decision where Petr Yan had a grand total of 0 moments in that fight. Coach, he got absolutely dominated. And what has happened since then? Petr Yan has suffered injuries in his legs, had a few close fights against Song Yadong and Marcus McGee, as well as Davison Figueiredo. And what has Merab done since then, Coach? I don't know, probably a 15-fight winning streak where he's looked dominant in almost every fight outside of the Umar Nurmagomedov fight where he dropped the first 2 rounds and then rallied to win the next 3. Coach, I don't see a path to victory for Petr Yan. I mean, the only way I can see it is if he wins the first 2 and maybe gets one of the last championship rounds. That would be his path to victory for me. But Merab's not a slow starter. He's not usually going to drop the first round. I know we saw that against Corey Sandhagen, but Coach, this is a 5-rounder. If this was 3, I might lean towards Petr Yan. I might think this guy has the technician skills to win the second and third after a brutal first. Over 5, I just can't see anybody in this division beating Merab, Coach. Give me Merab by decision here.
Well, you know, it's funny what you said is he's going to have to get in and knock him out. Well, to knock him out, he's going to have to close the distance.
Yep.
And if you get close, you're screwed because he's going to ragdoll you. He's going to throw you all over because he's that quick and that strong.
Yep.
And his cardio is ridiculous. I mean, it absolutely is. I mean, you'd have to choke this guy out. You'd have to knock him out or choke him out, and he's not going to let you do that. So I'd be shocked if it went 3 rounds. I would, unless Jan just dances around for 3 rounds. But I don't see that happening. He knows he's got to knock him out, so he's going to have to come forward. The problem is that Merab will come forward also. So it's going to be like butting heads. And if that's the case, man, it's going to be over in the first round.
I agree, Coach. This is the machine versus the computer. Petr Yan downloads information in those first 2 rounds, picks you apart in the later half of the fight. I don't think he's going to have time to do this here. Like you said, he's going to have to close distance because he's not a very big guy. The thing that Sean O'Malley had in that matchup against Merab is he could stay on the outside and hope to snipe him on the end of his punches so that Merab couldn't get too close. We saw how those 2 matchups went, Coach. I think if Petr Yan chooses to be on the outside, he loses a rather boring decision. And if he chooses to close the distance, Merab takes him down.
100%. You're absolutely right. And we're pretty close on the picks. The only one you picked was Tyra, I think.
Yeah, we have four of the same picks, and we differed on Moreno versus Tyra. That fight could go either way, Coach. Like I said, I love the way this card highlights the lower weight classes. What a better way to close out the UFC pay-per-view era, one of the most legendary eras in the sport, Coach. And like that, after next week's fights at the Apex, we're without the UFC for 6 weeks, and then we transition into Anaheim and the UFC Paramount era, highlighted by Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight championship of the world, Coach. Some great events coming down the pipe in 2026, Coach. I'm looking forward to breaking them down with you. But Coach, I digress. A great breakdown from both of us, I feel. 4 out of the 5 were simultaneous picks for us. We picked the same guy. Moreno versus Tyra is the only one we're in disagreement on. Coach, it's good to have you back. It's good to be back. Love you, Coach.
Happy holidays, my guy. See you soon.
We're out, fight fans. Have a good one.